Hey everyone, it's Dave from Dave's Ohio Barbecue. On today's video, we are going to be cooking a brisket on the pellet grill. Stick around. Now, if you watched any videos on my channel, you know I've already got two brisket videos up there. I've got one that I did on my offset smoker. I'll put a link to that up here somewhere. And then I also have one that I did the beginning of the smoke, the first 4 hours or so, on the offset smoker, and then I moved it over to the pellet grill for convenience sake, just to see how it would turn out. I'll put the link to that video up here as well. They'll also be down in the description if you want to find them. Basically, what I wanted to find out is how much difference would it be if I just did the entire cook on the pellet grill. There's a lot of people out there that say pellet grills don't give you that same smoke flavor. A lot of purists think that, since you're just setting it and walking away, it's, not real barbecue, whatever. It's still wood burning and it still produces smoke. And I want to see if the results are anything similar to what I got from my offset or what I got from the split cook that I did. So today what we have is a 12-pound brisket. It's prime that I got from Costco. I'm going to trim it up. Nothing crazy, just get any hard fat off of there. I like to leave about a 1/4 inch of fat cap on the top. That way when it renders out, it'll kind of go through the meat and kind of baste it a little bit. But that's it, just any hard, disgusting fat. If there's any sort of like silver skinny looking stuff on there, get it off, trim it up, make it nice and neat. For the rub today, we're going real simple. It's just gonna be 1 part coarse ground black pepper and 1 part salt, kosher salt in this case. I did add to it, I did about a 1/2 cup of pepper, a 1/2 cup of salt. I did add 1 tablespoon of garlic powder to it, just because I wanted to try a little something different. I wanted to see if the garlic gave it any sort of interesting flavor or anything. Just, it's not really gonna change much. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know I'm a big fan of salting meat ahead of time. I salt my steaks, I salt my prime rib, night before, hours before, depending on what kind of cut of meat it is. With brisket, I don't tend to do that. It's such a big chunk of meat that the salt really isn't going to work its way down into the middle. And since it's such a strong rub, I mean, it's really strong pepper and salt, I don't feel it needs it. So I don't do any salting ahead of time. You see I put the rub on here pretty liberally. I want a nice bark on there. I do want to develop that nice crust. That's the best part, super salty, and then that, the pepper mellows out once it gets coated in fat, and it's really, really good. I'm going to put the rub on about an hour before I put this on the smoker, just so it has time to kind of tack up. I'm not putting any sort of binder on it today, no mustard, no oil, nothing like that. I'm just going straight rub right on the brisket. So I'm going to be running the smoker today at around 240 degrees. It may dip a little bit to 225, it may spike a little bit to 250, but 240 is a nice kind of low and slow temperature to cook a brisket at. For this size brisket, a 12-pound brisket, that should take anywhere between 8 and 10 hours. Now, a lot of times people say, well, geez, is it going to take 8 or is it going to take 10? Depends on how many heat spikes you have, it depends on the cut of meat, depends on the weather, depends on if it's windy or not, depends on all sorts of factors. So you've got that window there. Sometimes that kind of puts people off because they're thinking, well, if I'm having dinner at 6 and this is an 8 to 10 hour window, I could be done 2 hours early or I could be done 2 hours late. What I usually do is I usually plan to finish my brisket around 3 hours before I want to eat. You can hold a brisket in a cooler for a remarkably long period of time. I've held it for over 4 hours and it still came out super hot and super juicy. So don't worry about finishing early. You don't want to finish late because then your guests would be, pissed off at you. But finish early, finish 2 hours, 3 hours, it doesn't really matter. As long as you have a cooler and some towels to wrap it up, you should be good. I'm using Pit Boss Competition Blend in this video. I use that one a lot. The only reason I use it so much is because they sell, a 20-pound bag for 15 bucks at Lowe's. It's a good pellet. It's cheap compared to all the other varieties, and it's available pretty easily to me because I got Lowe's to the left and the right of me. Put it on the smoker. I'm going to close up the lid and I'm just going to let this go. I'm going to make sure that there's pellets in the hopper. It's going to take a while. If you have a hopper extension and you really don't want to come out and check on it often, you can do that. I'm also going to put my ThermoWorks smoke in there. I'm going to use that to monitor the pit temperature, and I'm also going to put the meat thermometer in there so I can wirelessly see how the brisket's doing. The goal with this brisket is to cook it to about 200 degrees, and then when I take it off and put it in the cooler, it'll carry over some, so that'll be a good temperature. But you don't really want to do it solely on temperature. Temperature is a good guideline. You really kind of want to do it by feel. And what I do is I take my probe thermometer here. You can do this with a skewer, like a shish kebab skewer or something like that. And I poke it through the point end. and just to see if it's nice and loose. If it goes through easily, like you're pushing it through butter, then you're done. With this brisket, at about 8.5 hours, the point seemed really soft, but the the thinner end of the brisket was still kind of tough. The probe was not passing through it with ease. So I gave it a little bit more. I actually took this one to about 203 before I took it off. By that point, the flat had kind of loosened up a little bit and it was much softer, and I got a much better result that way. Take it off of the smoker. I'm going to put it into a foil pan, and then I cover it with aluminum foil. Then I've got a cooler, and in the cooler I've got some old towels at the bottom. Put the pan in, cover the top with more old towels, and close it up. This one sat for an hour and a half before I started slicing it up, and it was still super hot, like too hot to touch with your bare hands when I took it out of the cooler. So it really, it held really, really nicely. And you can see here, cuts real easy. You can see on the point side right here, they've got a little bit of a smoke ring, not too much, but I think from the offset smoker, I definitely got a better smoke ring than I do on the pellet. But the flavor of it is fantastic. It tastes great. It's super juicy, super soft. Tastes great. Pulls apart with just the lightest pressure, and that's what you're looking for. You want your slices to hold together, but then if you tug on them a little bit and then they start falling apart, that's a perfectly done brisket. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure you follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Dave's Ohio Barbecue. I also have a Facebook page. It's Dave's Ohio Barbecue. Just search for it and you'll be able to find it. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button and press the bell next to it. That way you get notifications every time I make new videos. And I've got a lot of videos already in the works. They should be coming out really soon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.